everyone. Today I'm going to be explaining about matter. My name is Sabrina SP from class XIPAB. This picture is the branches of classification of matter, whereas they're pure substance and mixtures. What is matter? Matter is anything that occupies space and has mass. The first one we're going to talk about pure substance. Pure substance is a matter having definite composition and distinct properties. The first one is element. The examples for element are hydrogen and copper. Element is a substance that cannot be decomposed into simpler substance. It is composed of one kind of element. In element there are three, which is metal, non-metal, and metalloid. The examples for metal is uranium, neodymium, and berkelium. Metal is a good conductor of heat and electricity. For non-metal, the examples are iodine, hydrogen, and astatine. Non-metal is a poor conductor of heat and electricity. The last one is metalloid. Metalloid, the examples for this are germanium, tellurium, and arsenic. Metalloid is an element that exhibits both the properties of a metal and a non-metal. The second one is compound. Compound is a substance that is made of two or more elements, thus composed of two or more kinds of atoms. The examples are water and salt, which is NaCl. In compound, there are organic compound and inorganic compound. First one we're going to talk about is organic compound. There are allopathic organic and aromatic compound. For allopathic organic, the examples are butane and methane. Allopathic organic is a compound consisting of chains or rings of hydrocarbons. And aromatic compound, the examples are phenol and benzoate. Aromatic compound is an organic compound consisting of benzene ring, which naturally gives strong scent. For inorganic compound, there are acid, base, and salt. The examples for acid is extracts from citrus fruits and vinegar. Acid is a compound that produces hydrogen ion when diluted in water. And for base, the examples are ammonia and baking soda. Base is a compound that produces hydroxide ion when diluted in water. And the last one is salt. The examples for salt is potassium bromide and magnesium chloride pentahydrate. Salt is a compound consisting of metallic and non-metallic ions. This picture that I'm showing you is the examples for allopathics and aromatics. The examples in this picture for allopathics are methane, propane, cyclohexane, and ethanol. And for aromatics, the examples are benzene, ethylbenzene, and naphthalene. Now that we've finished talking about pure substance, we're going to talk about mixture. Mixture is a combination of two or more pure substances. The examples for mixture are hydrogen and oxygen, jelly beans, air, and seawater. The first one is homogeneous. Homogeneous is a mixture wherein only one phase is made visible. There is solution. Solution is a type of mixture whose particles are too small to be seen and to remain suspended. The examples for solution are sugar, water, water acetone, and water and hydrochloride acid. For the second one is heterogeneous. Heterogeneous is a mixture wherein two or more phases are made visible. There are suspension and colloid. The examples for suspension are gelatin, syrup, mud, sand, gravel, and water. Suspension is a type of mixture whose particles are large enough to be seen and to remain suspended. And then there is colloid. The examples for colloid are air and mayo. Colloid is a type of mixture whose particles are too small to be seen but large enough to remain suspended. This picture is the example of the Tyndall effect. What is the Tyndall effect? The Tyndall effect is the scattering of light by particles in a colloid or suspension. As we can see from the examples, there are three glasses that are filled each with solution, colloid, and suspension. For this example, the solution is water, for colloid is milk, and suspension is flour and water. As we can see from the results of the light beam that we see, is for solution is not visible, colloid is visible, and suspension is also visible. In molecular movements or movement of particles, there are 5 phases of matter, which is solid, liquid, gas, plasma, and base Einstein condensate. There are diffusion. Diffusion is the movement of molecules or particles from a region with higher concentration to a region with lower concentration. This picture that we see is the example of diffusion. And then there is osmosis. Osmosis is a movement of water molecules from region with higher concentration of water to a region with lower concentration of water. In this picture that we see is the example of osmosis, wherein this one is the partially permeable membrane, and this red one is the sucrose molecule, and the blue one is the water molecule. In this side is dilute solution containing a high concentration of water molecule, and for this side is the concentration solution containing a low concentration of water molecules. Now we're going to talk about methods of separating mixtures. The first one is filtration. Filtration is the use layer of filters to separate a mixture of solid and liquid. The examples for this is the mixture of sand and water. And the example that we see is the filtration process, wherein there is a glass funnel and a filter paper, which is here. The water is already being filtrated from the solid, and this one is the solid residue. Next, there is evaporation to dryness. Evaporation to dryness is the separation of solid and liquid by exposing the solution to heat and let the liquid to vaporize. The examples are copper sulfate, salt, copper carbonate, and sugar solution. The next one is centrifugation. Centrifugation is a method of separating mixtures which uses centrifugal force to separate each component in the mixture by density difference. The examples for centrifugation are blood. This picture that we see is the example of centrifugation of blood, which there is a plasma, white blood cells and platelets, and red blood cells. In this picture is the example of evaporation, wherein you expose the solution to heat and let the liquid to vaporize. Next, there is a simple distillation. Simple distillation is a method of distillation which used to separate solid and liquid, wherein the solid and the liquid is the solvent in the solution. The examples for simple distillation is seawater and pure water, whiskey, gin, and vodka. This is the example of simple distillation. Next, there is fractional distillation. Fractional distillation is a type of distillation which separates a solution of both liquids by means of a fractionality column. The examples for this are ethanol and water and alcohol and water. This is the example for fractional distillation, wherein there is a burner, fractionating column, a thermometer, and a condenser. Next, there is decantation. Decantation is to separate a liquid from the residues using a glass rod. The examples for this are mud and water and oil and vinegar. The example for decantation is the picture on the right, whereas there is a use of a glass rod to help in decantation. The next one is using separating funnels. Using separating funnel is used to separate immiscible liquids. The example for this are oil and water. The example picture for using separating funnel is the picture on the left, whereas there is water and oil inside of the separating funnel. The next one is using magnet. Using magnet is used to collect metals from mixture of solids using magnetism. And then there is using suitable solvent, which is the use of solvent in which only one solid is soluble to it while the other is insoluble. And the next one is crystallization. Crystallization is used for obtaining a pure solid sample from a solution. The examples for crystallization is salt. This picture that we see is the crystallization process. The first one is the impure solid is dissolved in solvent, and the second one is the solution is heated to evaporate most of the solvent. And the third one is the hot solution is allowed to cool. The solid appears as pure crystals. And the fourth one, or the last in the process, is the cold solution is poured off to obtain the crystals. The crystals may be dried by pressing them between sheets of filter paper. The last one in methods of separating mixtures is chromatography. Chromatography is the method of separating two or more components that dissolve in the same solvent. The examples for this are sugar in urine and drugs in blood. This picture that we see is the chromatography example, whereas there is an eluent or mobile phase, sand, mixture to separate, mixture to be separated, and silica or aluminum or stationary phase. And then there's the sand, sinister glass shred or cotton or glass wall. Thank you for your attention.